The All Blacks were good enough to beat England by 1 point in their opening game of the season, and the prevailing theory is that the All Blacks have more improvement in them and should win comfortably at Eden Park this weekend. But what if they don't? What if England conjures a famous victory? I'm here to tell you it is possible, and even though I am a diehard All Blacks fan, I'm going to put my English supporter cap on and explain how I think the English could get a famous New Zealand scalp this weekend at Eden Park. Now look, the English are going to need to vary their play. There isn't just one magic tactical bullet against a team as good as the All Blacks. So I'm going to give you the two different strategies that I think could really pay dividends for England this weekend. The first is building phases. Now look, in the past, England have played 10-man rugby. It has been all about the kicking 5-8. It has been all about the set piece. But what we saw on the weekend was an English team that looked most dangerous when they were building phases on attack. When did it break down? When they did not have sufficient support play. And that's why the most important actions the English players might take this weekend isn't going to be with the ball in hand. It's not going to be on defense either. It is going to be backing up the attacking player, because what we saw through the English 8, 9, 10 axis is you have three guys who can splinter the defense and make big meters downfield. However, it is all for nothing if the cavalry isn't coming in behind. And that's where I think New Zealand probably did edge England on the weekend. The support play was just a little bit better from the New Zealanders. So the Englishmen, they need to chase every ruck like their lives depend on it. Because if they can build multiple phases, get the ruck ball ticking over at high speed, they have the big bodies to just plop the ball across the line. We saw that on the weekend. Maro Itoje scored a try that was a pretty simple pick and go. The English support was not as good in the second half, and the points dried up. My second point comes down to the kicking game. The English need to kick different if they want this result to hit different. Now, funnily enough, my advice is to do the exact opposite of what they did last week. They need to play a bit more like the All Blacks did in the second half. What you saw was the English putting up a barrage of high kicks, but the New Zealand back three was able to diffuse them pretty successfully overall, and they might be able to do it even more easily if you have Caleb Clark starting. He's a bit of a high ball merchant. They really didn't get much out of targeting Damien McKenzie. He was safe as houses under the high ball. So I think it's time for England to vary their kicking a little bit and do what Beauden Barrett did in the second half. Plug the corners. Play for territory. If they're not able to get these phases going on attack, they need to just drill the ball down. I'm talking grubber it into the corner and pick off the New Zealand line out in their own 22. D up, play for penalties, go for the drop goal, go for the 3 points, turn it into an arm wrestle. I'm not saying this is what I want to see as a spectator. I'm not saying this is what I want to see as an All Blacks fan, for the love of Pete. But I do think it could be successful in racking up some points against New Zealand. When it comes to the English, we like to say swing low, sweet chariot. Well, I'm here to tell you, kick low, sweet chariot. And that might just be the way to get that All Black scalp you want. Now finally, it's usually better to talk about tactics and strategy rather than pure emotion. But this is a bit different this week. There's a big prize at stake here. The All Blacks have a lot to lose. They do not want to lose their 30-year win record at Eden Park. But if England can take that record, that's a famous win. So in effect, they are playing for a lot more this weekend. Sure, a win in Dunedin would have been fabulous. They haven't won on New Zealand soil since 2003. But what about doing something that hasn't been done since 1994? That has to put some gas in the tank of a probably fairly tired English team who's had a very long season. If these guys can break the Eden Park Hoodoo, they will be legends for the rest of their lives. So this might actually be a time to lean into emotion. One more push to the summit, boys. You have the chance to make history. Don't let your moment slip. Everyone said it was the golden opportunity last weekend against a rusty All Blacks team. Yeah, that's not necessarily true. If you actually look back, the All Blacks do play, sketchy rugby in their first game of the season historically, but they pretty much always win it. It's more a critique of style when we say that the All Blacks are off to a slow start. What we're really saying is, yeah, they won, but it wasn't pretty. In fact, if you look at the second test of the year for the All Blacks, that might be when they're at their most vulnerable. Do you remember England coming down in 2014? That second game was much closer than the first. Do you remember when the Irish came down and Dan Carter had to slot a drop goal in the rain with seconds remaining? And that was after they had pumped the Irish the week before. There is a tendency for the All Blacks to just drop off in the second test. Most recent example, the Lions game in 2017. Ugh, don't remind me. My God, bad day at the office. So if the All Blacks are having a sophomore slump and the English are on top of the mental game and they have their eye on that Eden Park prize, well, you might just see history getting made this weekend. As for my prediction, I think the All Blacks are going to be good enough to do it. I think of the two teams in that very tight game we saw on the weekend in Dunedin, the All Blacks do have more room to grow. The English looked more settled. The All Blacks are betting in some new combinations. I think they could play about 30 or 40% better than that. And if they do, I think we'll get a New Zealand win. But I'm not predicting it to be by more than 10 points. But let me know, what do you think the score will be on the weekend? Comment below, and I'll be breaking down the game after it finishes. Can't wait. Go the All Blacks. Good luck to England. I'll catch you guys for another video real soon. Take it easy. Bye for now. Whoosh.